everyone. This is Heartwoods Haven, and I'm your host, Brandy Swords. And we have a special guest today. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Kristen Livingston. I'm a licensed independent social worker, and I'm with Hearth and Healing Mental Health Therapy. And it's my own small private therapy practice. I'm in Southern Ohio in Portsmouth, and I opened the doors just last fall. And I met Brandy shortly after that, and I'm just, really happy to be at my, community's service. I love serving Southern Ohio and people like me, like my family, like your family, people that might have to travel otherwise to find someone that truly cares and truly has, the quality of service that we want to bring here. So, that's really my reason. That's my why. And, among other things, but.
Yeah, and thank you for, bringing it down there, because I'm not really sure, like we talked about, how many therapists are actually in your area?
Well, I know that there's just a couple, like private practices, mine and another one. And then, there's one in Jackson, but as far as, referrals, I mean, they're plentiful. And I see kids above 11 and teenagers, and I get a lot of calls about that because, some people who've only worked with adults, they kind of shy away from that, because there's a lot more that you have to take into account when you work with kiddos. But I love that. It's brightened up my days and made them fun and allowed me to be silly and playful and all that stuff that we forget about, as adults, that's really healing for us. And so that has been just a joy to serve families. And, I always say the highest honor is for someone to trust you with their child in this setting, in mental health. That is, I consider that an honor.
Yes. And I think it's amazing that you do kids and teenagers, because a lot of times, like with our grandsons, you needed that safe space to be able to vent and talk. And so I love that you do that age, because I'm you have met a lot of people that do not want to do kids. But I love, because that's our next generation, that's our future. So if we can help them cope or deal with situations, that's going to help them and everybody involved.
Absolutely. I mean, if we can make society, just so many times, Brandy, people are like, thank you for talking to me, or thank you for, offering me a bottle of water, or what I consider basic human, connection that's lost in some of these bigger environments. And I refer to them, they refer to me, bigger clinics, hospital networks. We need those, but that's not for everyone, and when I first started my practice, and I got connected to the Women's Business Center, and I was trying to learn about marketing and business. Well, I don't know anything about marketing and business still, but one of the things they asked me is who are you trying to sell this to? And I'm like, well, who doesn't need therapy, right? And then I've realized that certain populations don't feel comfortable in those bigger hospital settings. And I'm happy to serve them here. I'm not for everyone, but, for the people I'm for, I truly want to be making a difference and giving them a space where they can heal without feeling, that someone is looking at them, or they're going to run into someone, or their professional reputation is going to be at stake.
Yes. And I totally agree with that. I think that's how it is because I'm like you, there's sometimes where people have that whole social anxiety. They don't want to go to a big place. So I love that you're doing that, because I think we all need that. And I'm the same way. You can be for me or not. And if I can't help you, then I'll pass you to someone.
Exactly. So I, and I won't regret that conversation that we had I offer the free 15-minute consultations, and sometimes people just call me and, they're not right for me, or, maybe I can't fit them in my schedule. And I still enjoy, I told my landlord here, because I share an office space with a massage therapist, I said, if I ever lose that ability to talk for 15 minutes with someone to see if I'm the right fit, then I've gone too far.
Yeah.
Right. Because to me, that's very important. It's not only, I think you mentioned that we might talk about emotional safety.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've learned is that being the right fit for someone as a therapist, that's not something to be taken lightly. So
Yeah.
I've learned that, my 15-minute phone calls is like, hey, I want to see if I'm the right therapist for you.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can offer you what you need. And, during this call, if you get the feeling that maybe we're not a great fit, then that's great. Now we know and we can get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty to go around when it comes to my field. And I'm not trying to, keep anyone from the right fit for them.
Yes, and I agree. I mean, there's someone out there for everybody. And I think we need to all work together. We're not against each other. We're trying to
No.
help each other. We're a community. We're working together. So I agree. So what services do you provide?
So I just provide individual therapy and couples therapy, and then child and adolescent therapy. And, many people ask, does that include family therapy? And what I'll say about that is that if that is an issue with a child, then we do include their family always.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the biggest thing that I've internalized over the years, Brandy, is that if I have your grandson in here and he's very open and he can identify his emotions and he can de-escalate his emotions, well, he does not go home with me. He
Mm-hmm.
goes home with his mom.
Yeah.
And so if his mom doesn't know what the plan is and what he's working on and how to support him as his attachment figure, then I'm not doing my job, right?
Yes.
So in the same way that, you would be involved in your child's doctor's visit, their physical therapist appointment, you will be involved, right? This is not a place to come and vent and never do anything different. It's a place to come and learn how to use new tools or the tools you have in a new way to achieve something that you want. Because my goal is that when folks leave my office, they feel that they've had some, awakening of their insight. They've learned a new tool. They've processed something really difficult. Someone has held space for them, which, for many people, you're rewriting narratives that have existed for 20, 30, 40, even 50 years. And that is really the goal that I have, is that when folks leave my office, there's something to take away. There's some kind of homework, which people, not everyone likes that term, but
yeah,
you have a plan, right? Because I'm not the catalyst of change. I always tell people, there's a bus, right? And they're the driver. My clients are the driver and I'm a passenger. And, I will make suggestions and I will bring things to the table. But at the end of the day, they have to know their destination and they have to know how to get there. And I will help them, right? I will be, or a ship hand on a ship, right? Because someday I want them to keep going and drop me off at the station, so that I can help the next person who, needs me.
And I love that, how you said that with the bus, because you're right. It's not about an easy fix or you're doing everything for them. It's you're helping them to understand their feelings and to go through these things. And I love that you said that with the bus, because a lot of times some people have talked to me and they're like, well, I just want to go there so they can fix my problems. And I'm like, well, you need to go there and you need to learn the tools, like you said.
Right. Because,
but you're helping us.
The thing is, something that I really live by and carry into my work, Brandy, is that, pain is inevitable. Pain is part of life, right? We're going to have it. We're going to have financial problems. We're going to have relationship problems. We're going to have, problems in the world, because that's often something people come in and they're worried about the state of the world, right? Or they're worried about, their church and the state of the church and will it come back around? And what I can say is that the pain that we experience today, it will be different tomorrow, but pain will always exist, because often pain is our catalyst, right? Like, why are you here today, right? Because of a painful experience that you had, and my goal is to help people relate to their pain differently, right? So if we continue to live life as though we're not supposed to be in pain, and why me, and how could this happen?
Yes.
Versus, what is this pain here to tell me, right? And what message can I take away from this? I mean, all emotions are here for a reason, negative, positive. Now, granted, we want to learn to regulate them. We want to learn. So I always tell people that's your gas and brake pedal, right? Mm-hmm. But the emotion itself is not an enemy.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's a hard thing, because like, well, when I'm angry, I can get through anything. When I'm sad, I can't. And they're like, that's my driving power. And I'm like, it all is hand in hand. The sadness, the anger, everything, frustration. And I'm like, we just got to figure out how to do it. What's our tools?
Yes. And I tell people that what's beneath that anger, right?
Yes.
So, when we're angry, I often will say that's a preschool emotion, right? We're going to look beyond that. And are you betrayed? Are you resentful? Are you frustrated? Do you feel criticized? Do you lack belonging in your life? Mm-hmm. Anger is appropriate anytime a goal is blocked. So what goal do we have that is blocked, right? Mm-hmm. And then anger can help us advocate and communicate our needs and to stand for what we need to assert ourselves, right? So like, let's say we're angry that there's not enough services to go around. Well, is that a healthy anger? Yeah, of course it is, right? Or if you're angry that you don't get a job interview, well, what that anger is going to do for you is it's going to motivate you to figure out why that goal got blocked. Mm-hmm. But you're right. People struggle with those more sad emotions like, grief, sadness, despair. People struggle with that because they can't understand how to go on, right? They want to, but the thing is we can never move on until we fully feel it.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree with that. I think the whole numbness and you're like just going through life, almost I always say like a zombie, like you're not really there, but you're just going through the motions, but you're not feeling anything and you're not moving. You're just standing in one place basically. And I think that's a lot of it. I think we have to feel all of them, as painful as it is, and really hard days. It's like I think you need to enjoy, not really enjoy, but be in that moment with that pain. But I don't think it's going to last forever. You got to find them. You got to work through it.
The worst part of an emotion lasts 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And so, the trouble is that when we act on that emotion, because it's, whether we take our own life or we cut ourselves or we drink or do something destructive, we ruin a relationship because we're in pain. If we can believe in our capacity to hold pain, then we can do anything.
And I agree. And I was looking at all the different services that we were talking about. And what is the trauma-informed care? What is that exactly?
Well, so trauma-informed care is really just a way of working. It's a way of being. You can offer any kind of therapy in a trauma-informed way. So the best way to explain it to someone is that you treat everyone that comes through your door as though they've experienced trauma. Because let me tell you, it's not going to harm them if they haven't, right? Mm-hmm. So many times, like let me just talk very basically. When I talk to someone on the phone, Brandy, I know that they have been through something I cannot imagine. I assume. That's my first assumption. Mm-hmm. I assume that they don't trust me. I assume that they've been hurt. Mm-hmm. Right? And those assumptions cultivates a sense of safety because I am going to allow them to control the conversation, to have power. I'm also going to make sure the physical setting is safe. So like, I have a chair that's closer to the door for the patient than me. Whereas my training told me to always be closer to the door. But I work with a lot of veterans and first responders. And I will ask them, if they feel safe. And and I also will tell them about the building, who's here, who could they expect to see, where is the restroom, where are the exits, what are the noises we hear, right? So safety is, and I physiologically try to show up in a regulated way so that I can help that person feel more safe. And if safety means, that today we set our agenda aside to process something that happened that we didn't expect, or if safety can mean that you can call your therapist in between sessions. And many times therapists don't allow that anymore, right? We're busy. We have a schedule. You need a ticket to get into here. No, once you're my client, I may not always be available, but I will make it known that you matter to me.
Yes. And I agree with that, because I think even like as a child, they always need to know what that next step is. And for you to point out, like, here's the door, here's the safety, and not, it's so important, because that's what people are thinking, even if they don't say it. How am I getting out of here? What if someone comes in? What if they hear me? What am I going to do?
It's all about transparency, right?
Yeah.
So when, and my mother always told me, Kristen, there's only one version of you. So, back in the 90s, me and my friends would laugh because we would always say our moms had a phone voice, right? Like they'd call the bank and all of a sudden they're like, hello, this is Debbie. And they don't talk like that at home, right? Yeah. And so it's like, I don't have a phone voice. The same way I'm talking to you right now is the same version of me you're going to get when you come into Hearth and Healing. There's no agenda other than the one that I'm telling you about today. Because, the way that I work is, well, let's move on, but we'll go back to that. But safety is the first premise of trauma-informed care, then trust and transparency, and then peer support or mutual self-help. So getting people in environments where they don't feel alone. Mm-hmm. And then also collaboration. So like the shared ownership of like the treatment plan, right? So like I may say, well, Brandy, I think we'll try 8 sessions, with your grandson, and we're going to work on this and this, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't own that power. That's our power together. Me, the child, his mother, his school, maybe, right? So like shared ownership. So I come from a place of, I'm not up here and you're down here, and I'm telling you my way is better. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you, but I will tell you something that you may not want to hear sometimes. Yeah. Only because I care about you enough. Because it is very easy for therapists today to sit and say, yep. Like ChatGPT, right? The validation, blind validation. Yeah. No, I will love you and still tell you that you're distorted in your thinking, right? I can love a person and tell them that suicide is not their best option. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love that, because I feel the same way. I feel like we can be truthful, but we can be kind and we can be blunt, but you don't have to be rude and you don't have to tear people down, but you're just being honest, but you're helping them. And I think sometimes in the beginning, they're like, no, why would you say that? And they're like, well, maybe I should think about this. Okay. Yeah. And I think that's how it is. Everybody's like, wait a minute, don't tell me what to do, but it's in the best interest and you're trying to help them. So,
right. And I'm not telling you what to do, because one of the premises of trauma-informed care is choice and empowerment. People who have trauma, they've been forced to be in a situation. They've been forced to cope with something they didn't ask for.
Yes.
And so to be able to make choices is central. And the other thing is, the culture, the history of the person, their gender, how they've grown up, right? Like,
yeah,
I have to see through their lens, because I can sit here, a white Appalachian woman, and I can see it through my lens.
Yeah.
But I need you to give me your glasses so that I can see what you see.
Yes. And that's so true. I like that you're looking through theirs, because you're right. We can only go on like our experiences of what we're doing, but to understand where they're coming from and how they were raised, yeah, it all factors in. You're right. That is huge, the way you say that. And my thing is, the other question I had was like, what are some common myths about trauma?
Well, when I first got into the field, there was this thing called big T and little t, right? And that was this idea that there's big trauma and there's little trauma, and that, one is worse than the other. And here's the thing. Trauma doesn't only count if it was really bad or a big T. Trauma can be you grew up in poverty. Trauma can be your mother had mental illness. Trauma can be you were bullied in school. Now, trauma can mean you were in combat. You experienced a suicide of a family member.
Yeah.
It can be a medical trauma. And this is just the tip of the iceberg as to what trauma is. And trauma is not only one event. Trauma can be complex and chronic. So like growing up in a home with an alcoholic father or mother, is that not a trauma? Is that not traumatic, right? That unpredictability of your caregiver?
And you're right about that, because I have a lot of people that will come and talk to me and they're like, I don't feel like my problems are as big as that person. They're having a harder time. So why does it matter if I speak about mine? I don't matter. Mine's too small. And I'm like, everybody matters. Everybody's situation's different. And their trauma to them is personal. So they know how they feel. And I love that you said that, because that is so true.
And I was taught that trauma is anything that overwhelms our coping capacity. But when I think about trauma, Brandy, I think about how we learn things, during our childhood and adolescence, and we develop like this filing system, right? Like for all the experiences in life. And traumas are things that don't fit in any of those files, because they shouldn't be, right? They're not so they call it the just right world. In the just right world, people don't drink with their kids and, not take them to their doctor's appointment. People don't complete suicide. People don't hurt and sexually assault other people, but we don't live in a just right world.
Yeah.
And so that's we internalize as children that life is supposed to be a certain way. And God, I hope and wish someday that it will be for all of us. But when it isn't, that's the trauma. And so then our brain is left with this wound that until it's healed in a safe space, it will continue to show up, because, we have this innate ability to heal, right? Like we're made to heal. Our skin, it scabs over, we heal, we get new skin. The brain wants the same healing. The brain wants to process. The brain wants to be okay. And trauma is anything that overwhelms that. And a lot of people, too, hesitate, I think, to talk about trauma because they believe it will make it worse.
Yes. Yes.
If I take it off that shelf and I bring it into this room, I won't be okay. I can't handle that. You know what I tell people? You've already lived through it, Brandy.
Yes.
The worst part is over. Now we've got to get your nervous system to catch up and believe that this trauma is over.
Yes.
Because by the time you've reached my office, with few exceptions, sometimes, we will have people that are living in a domestic violence or intimate partner violence scenario. And in those cases, the trauma may be ongoing. But most people, by the time they show up here, they're safer than they were at the time of the trauma. But the nervous system then becomes this ongoing, it's the fire alarm going off when you're frying bacon.
Yep.
Because all it knows is there's smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire, and where there's fire, there's death. And we are wired to survive.
Yes.
And we are wired for safety. And if we don't feel safe, so another interesting thing is that, some people think, well, it happened a long time ago, right? Like, yeah, my parents, they drank. My mother, she was, maybe not there. Maybe she was absent, or maybe she was sick, or she died early. Well, that doesn't affect me in my marriage today. Or how could that affect my coworker relationships?
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that it does, because every core belief you have comes from those experiences.
Yes. I totally get that.
And it reinforces it. So if I believe the world is not safe and no one's here for me, and then I walk into an office and I see that the person is, texting their partner, and they're watering their plants, and they don't even notice me, right? Well, then that's just one more notch in the belt.
Yes. Yes. I totally agree. I'm like you. I get it. And I think a lot of people, and that's what they said. Let's not talk about it. Let's not deal with it. Let's just move on.
Yes.
But you never move on because you don't deal with it. And eventually it comes out, and it'll come out in like anger or hurt, or
yes.
and you're like, what?
And it'll come out on the cashier at Walmart or your coworker, who has nothing to do with why you're hurting. And so I tell people it's like holding a beach ball underwater. It's tiring, Brandy. It's, one of my good mentors, my psychologist friend, Dr. Young, told me avoidance takes a lot of energy and effort.
Wow. And that's so true.
Right. Because people are scared of bringing it out, but in reality, they're expending just as much energy on keeping it put away. Right. And the thing is I'm all about truth. I've been a truth seeker since I was a little girl. Mm-hmm. I have always wanted to understand people and circumstance, and to understand why things are the way they are, good or bad. Mm-hmm. And it just lights me up when I figure something out for someone, with someone.
Yes.
That gets them to that next stone on their healing path, right? Like, and sometimes we just lay one or two stones. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Like, I truly think that your healing arrives when you're ready, right? Mm-hmm. And so you will know when your right time is to heal. Just because you didn't go to therapy when you were 20, or when you were 40, doesn't mean that at 60, when you're ready and you feel safety in your life, that you can't come here and that you'll be just as held with compassion and curiosity as you would have if it happened yesterday, because the nervous system can't tell time. So there's a little 20-year-old inside that 60-year-old woman that remembers that pain, that avoids that pain, that's triggered by that pain. Mm-hmm. And like, I just love when someone has an aha moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. And it's amazing. You're like, oh, it's like the whole rainbow came on. You're like, yes.
Yes. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And my thing, so when did you know that you wanted to be a therapist? Did you know, like, as you were talking about when you were younger, was this something you're like, oh, maybe I should go into this? Like, what really was your turning point?
Well, I don't really think I knew what a therapist or a social worker was necessarily when I was a kiddo, but at the age of 16, my good friend Taylor and I were taking some courses at Shawnee State. And, we were still in high school, and we needed like some extra credits to, fill up our semester. And her father, he worked in the Ohio prison system, and he had recommended a social work class because at the time, it was an emerging field. There were lots of jobs available. And we took the class, and, as a high school student, I was scoring really high on the exams. And it just felt, have you ever been in a situation where like, it's kind of like what you've always known.
Yeah.
And like, it just feels right. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to try, because the values of social work, which they presented to me in that class, I'm like, wait, those are my values. Like, there's a job where you actually, because I had done a lot of volunteer work. Mm-hmm. And, looking back now, I realize the folks in my family that had mental health issues. I mean, I remember being a 10-year-old little girl. I went to this hospital to visit a family member, and they had this timeline of famous people, historical figures and things like that. And it was anyone that had suffered with mental illness, right? Mm-hmm. And, so one of the things I guess that struck me was like, there probably were social workers that I did meet or knew of in my life. I just didn't really know that was a job. So I always had known I wanted to be a helper and, maybe work in the medical field or something. But then, when I was in this class, it just felt like home, And I was like, this is great, and that's probably one of the first times, Brandy, in my life that I trusted myself, which is hard for women.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard road to toe to believe in yourself and trust yourself. And
Yeah.
at that moment, I made a decision that whatever this feeling was, I was just going to trust it. And, here I am today. I've been in the field since 2013, been independently licensed since 2016, owned my own business for, 6 months now. And it seems like every day when I come to work, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. And that's what you want. You want to go and you're like, it's not a job. It's my passion. It's my mission. It's what I do. And I get that feeling like you're like, oh, it's home. And that is the best way to describe it. I know I'm meant to do this. I know this is my mission and my purpose. I can feel it and I'm going to go and trust that.
Exactly.
And you're completely right. And how do you take care of yourself when you're taking care of everybody else? What do you do?
Well, that's been a challenge for me. And I won't, because I'm a transparent person, I will let you know that that's something that for me is work. That does not come naturally to me. Mm-hmm. So that is something that I have to intentionally identify. So much like my clients, I have to identify what my capacity is and be okay with that. And then know what can fill me back up, right? So one of the things that is true for me, Brandy, is that when I absorb things, it comes out in my body. So like tense muscles, a neck ache, a backache, or, it's just, so for me, it's a lot of physical self-care, like massage, and I get dry needling twice a month. And so for me, it's just like helping my body to go into that state of rest. And sometimes that can be as simple as taking a bath or listening to a loving kindness meditation or, going outside and feeling the sun on my skin. But it's things that help my body remember that all of this is not mine to carry forever.
Yes. And I think that's so important because we always talk about like self-love. How do you do that? Because you help so many people and you go, and you're like, I don't have time for myself because I'm supposed to be helping people. I'm supposed to be doing this. And a lot of times people are like, well, it's selfish if you do self-love. And I'm like, we got to take care of ourselves. And I'm like you, it's a hard thing sometimes for me to go, wait a minute, Brandy, you need a Brandy day. And that's hard because I'm like, I could be helping someone or doing something. I really have to put myself in check. Or yes. Out, I say. I'm like, Brandy, go to timeout. Let's talk to yourself. Figure out your plan. And you got to take that moment. And
I tell people, it's like our internal barometer. And you have to read it and pay attention to it because, it's going to catch up with you. One of the things that would happen to me, like in my college years, is I would get sick. I would actually get a cold or something. And then that would slow me down. And I've learned that, I'm in control. And I don't need to wait, and that your body communicates with you all the time. I was listening a little bit to one of your previous guests talk about dance, and your body is one of the biggest messengers of your emotions and can be a guide for, it reflects your well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree. And a lot of times I don't think we listen to our body, or, maybe we don't know how. And yes. That's another thing I've had to learn. I've had to listen to different podcasts and read books and talk to people because I had to say, okay, I do have tension in my shoulders and I do have this because I'm holding it. I'm holding everybody. It's like I'm holding my breath. And I'm like, I got to breathe. I got to let it out.
And, that's something I work a lot with, like the somatic exercises and the mindfulness and body-based exercises. Because I tell people it's like data, right? So even if you're a very logical person and you're not a creative, you're not a dancer, you're not an artist, well, guess what? It's data. And you need to plug it into your spreadsheet in order to get the information that you need to make a mindful choice moving forward, right? So I tell people 3-part check-in. Notice how you're feeling in your body. What emotions rise up to the top, and then where are my thoughts? And then ask yourself, how do I move forward in a mindful and value-oriented way? So a mindful and value-oriented way means sometimes not what my body is telling me.
Mm-hmm.
So, many times in life, we may value self-care or we may value our health, but then we get these urges to overwork, or we get these urges to drink alcohol or smoke, and we allow our emotions to drive the bus of our behavior, and we are not participating in that conversation.
Yes. Yes.
And I really try to bring myself forward in a place of, in true curiosity for a person's inner experience.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you're feeling in that body, in that mind, in your thoughts, that is your present truth. And whether I would feel that way or not, that's neither here nor there, right? I tell people all the time, I've noticed this throughout my career. The difference in someone who is able to recover from trauma and someone who is not is the landing. So when you come down from that fall, is it a soft landing? Or is there people there to catch you? Or is it hard?
Yeah.
And that's where the second injury comes. When you land and it's a hard landing and then you're injured again.
Yeah.
Whereas when there's a soft landing, when there's someone to say, Brandy, what happened to you was hard. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that's like, but I'll sit in the mud with you until there's a lotus and then I'll do it again.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And I say that all the time, like, you don't have to fix my problems, but it's just nice to be heard and seen and someone just sitting there. You don't even have to talk. I love that because I'm like you. It's like, let's go sit in the mud. Let's put our feet in the water. Let's do whatever.
We may dip our toe in. We may only dip our toe in. And if that's where someone is on their journey. So one of the things I have to really rein in is I get excited. Yeah. And if I see it, I want to call it out and I want to work on it and I want people to feel better. But the thing is I'm not driving the bus and I'm not taking that wheel because that's not my wheel. My wheel is over here.
Yes. I totally agree.
And I've driven my bus here. Yeah. 538 6th Street in Portsmouth in beautiful historic Boney Fiddle. Mm-hmm. I never thought. I used to close my eyes, Brandy, when I was young, a young social worker in the community, and I would imagine an old woman doing what I'm doing today.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm like, hey, you're not an old woman, and you're here already.
Yeah.
Which means that this is just, I'm not even to the icing yet. Like, this is just the cupcake itself.
Yes. Exactly. And I think we always got to think about that instead of thinking, 10 feet ahead. It's like, let's be in the present. Let's do what we're supposed to be doing and working on it. And there's so much more to come. And try not to get caught up. Do you ever feel the pressure of like comparing yourself to other people or therapists? Is that a thing that you've dealt with before?
Comparing yourself to other people?
Yeah. Or like even as therapists, I mean, do you feel sometimes, do you even think about other people, what worries or what they think about you?
Our connection there.
I know. I was like, wait, she's in there.
So the question was, do I ever feel like,
do you ever compare yourself to like, do you feel like with your business or personally, do you ever compare yourself?
Of course I do. I'm human, Brandy.
Yeah.
That's human nature. And the thing is I don't ever want to display that my humanness is left because my humanness is here. I'm no guru of the human experience. And I know what it's like to be a human. And I will not keep that out of this therapy room.
Yes.
But what I've learned, though, is that my gifts are my gifts, right? And your gifts are your gifts. Yes. And the universe needs both of our gifts. And I can compare myself to you all day. but I'm not you. I have a different purpose, and I have a different path. And whether I understand that or not, it's happening, right? Like your path is unfolding. And have I struggled in the same way that we all have, wishing I had an easier path, or that every day, was cupcakes and rainbows? Yeah, we all have those days. Yeah. But it's how you respond to that. Like, so for me, it's a lot about mindfulness, right? So noticing when I compare, and noticing what that might be telling me, right? So one of my pivotal moments was, reading that Mel Robbins book, The Let Them Theory. And there was this part in there about like seeing someone else do the thing that you want to do, but you've not done it yet, right? And all my life I thought, I just don't have quite what other people have. I don't know exactly where that comes from, but what I learned and what I finally concluded out of sheer crisis and survival is that the only thing I didn't have was courage.
I mean, that's powerful to say that, because you're right. It's like I've learned with me, people are going to like me or they're not, but I am who I am. And I just bring myself to the table, and I'm like, it's okay if I'm not your piece of pie. It's okay. There's other pies.
Right. Because I'm not going to stand outside the arena anymore.
Yes.
If you don't like it, you can go to a different show, but I'm getting in there, and some of the people are going to be different, maybe better, maybe, judging. I don't know. But for me, it's that I could no longer withstand the feeling of not being in the arena.
Yes. I like that, because that's how I feel. It was like, I think there comes a point in time in your life, I know with me, that I knew this was time that I was supposed to step up and start doing these things and talking and telling my story.
Step into your light.
Yeah. And I felt like I was drawn to that. And I'm like, it's time. And it didn't matter what people thought or judged, because I'm like, this is something I know I'm supposed to do. So I had to step out there.
I always used to think, I just need one more training, Brandy. I just need, maybe I should go back to school, right? None of that would have fixed that feeling. I had to learn experientially that I could go into that arena and I could fail and I could succeed and I could suffer. I could cry, scream, yell, and celebrate and still sit here today in front of you.
Yeah, you're right.
I used to think that in order to go into the arena, you had to be perfect.
And I think a lot of people worry about that. They're like, well, I'm not ready. And what if someone judges me, or what if they think? And you gotta move past that, because that person's always going to judge you if they want to judge you. They might not like what I'm wearing today. It doesn't matter. You kind of got to work through that. And everybody has their personal journey. And you have to really figure that out.
And no one could have told me, or helped me learn that lesson. That was internal. That was mine to learn. And in fact, I'm glad that no one took that on for me, because that was part of my process. And, I really want to speak to that. If you're thinking about therapy, and you're not sure, how many times has something that you're not sure about, once you've stepped into it, like let's say going to the gym, right? Like, you wake up, you don't want to go to the gym, but when you get in there and you start working out, you may have sore muscles and pain. Yeah. I tell people I'm a true Appalachian. I'm like, you want to cross the creek, you're going to get wet, girl. We're going to get in it together.
Yes.
And, I hope you wore your knee-high boots, because we're going to be getting in there and we're going to be working.
Yes.
But the thing is the sweetness, it's coming, right? And, I hesitate to say it gets worse before it gets better. But the thing is if you're avoiding, it's already there, sis. You're just not looking at it.
Yes, exactly. You just got to be brave enough to put them toes in. I'm like you. I'm like, let's just do it. Might as well, because you're going to go through it anyways. It's how you do it. I'm like you. I agree.
It's like, I know it's hard, but I think that once, someone told me when I worked at the VA that's like a 9,000 pound door to get in here. But once you're in here for that first time, that door lightens up a little bit each time.
Yes.
And I had someone in here just recently, and I said, is there something you want to tell me about this experience you had? I said, or is that not for today?
Yeah.
And this person said it's not for today.
Okay.
And they own their story, not me. I own my story.
Yeah.
And it's very important that trauma processing and the way we show up for people is not conditional. So if I only show up for you if you're the type of client I want, or if you are going to do it my way, or if you're my religion, or if you parent the way I parent, then, then I'm not safe.
Yes.
Because the acceptance that I give to my clients, that's not conditional.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have a hard time with that, Brandy, because they've only lived in a world where if they don't perform in a certain way, love gets withdrawn.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a huge thing. And now, do you have, when you say schedule with you, do you have certain hours or how's
Yes,
that?
I do, but I do all of my scheduling myself. So, on my website, which is hearth-healing.net, there's a contact form. It's also on my Facebook, my Instagram. You can fill that out. It's HIPAA compliant. It protects your privacy. Shoot me that, and then I will get back with you. Also, my number is all over the place. You can text me, call me, you can email me. And that's another thing is, if you only feel comfortable emailing me to at least see how we jive, hey, send me an email. Guess what? See if the tone shakes out. See if I'm your cup of tea. And if I can't serve you, I'm going to take you to the next place in your journey, because I have this commitment to myself that no matter how bad of a day I'm having, I need to know that whoever walks through that door or picks up that phone could be my mother, my son. That could be, that could be your son-in-law.
Yeah.
Making that phone call.
Yes.
And how we show up during that very first contact is important.
It is.
And that it's in a way that's safe.
Yes.
So if some people, especially this Generation Z below me, they like to text, girl. They do not like to call. And guess what? That's cool. Text me. And then, we'll get together. We'll make a time that's good for you, that we can go over the paperwork. I do all my paperwork electronically, all my billing electronically. We get all that done before you even come in. I try to create a relaxed environment. Now, of course, I do have to go over some of the laws and the ethics of my profession and my policies here. But at the end of the day, it's a conversation.
Yes.
People are free to ask questions. The expectation is that you tell the truth, you show up, and you participate.
Yes.
And sometimes we change course, right? And I can be flexible. And, I do 2 days a week. I work evenings. So, right now is my, it's my Tuesday. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm here until 7. That's when I see a lot of folks who work 9 to 5, some kiddos. I also work half days on Saturdays. I try to capture times where real people like us can show up.
Yes.
Have you ever tried to go to a therapist who only works 8 to 4?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you going to do? You're going to go to your car in the middle of your work day and you're going to process your trauma, then you're going to go back to work?
Yeah, exactly. And I like that you fit people's schedule, because that's real life. We're real people. This is how it is. We have to work. We have to survive, but we still need therapy if we need it. We need to meet people in the middle. So yeah, exactly. Now, is there anything else that you would like to share? You shared so much, and thank you so much for coming on here, and thank you for what you're doing in your community.
I guess if I could share something, Brandy, it would be that take that first step, whatever that is. You know, it could be listening to a podcast about therapy. What is therapy like? It could be listening to this podcast. It could be doing an inquiry online with either me or any of the other therapists in Ohio or wherever our listeners are located. But that first step is going to be your biggest. And after that, to me, the healing and the options are endless. And so if I could speak from my own place, you know, I remember what that first step was like for me. You know, I was 19 years old and I probably could have used that a lot earlier. And now, you know, it's like, you know, I believe everyone at some point in their life may need therapy. And by speaking out about that, we are diminishing that stigma and that shame. And we're showing people that, hey, if I can do it, anyone can.
Yeah.
If I can be vulnerable and show up and put my life out there and really desire something better for myself and my family, then you can too.
Yes.
And that you're not alone. I want everyone to know that they are not alone. That the human suffering is universal. And you will feel like you're alone, and it's a lie.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Everybody has dealt with mental health issues in different forms. So we're all together.
Yes.
Yes. And we are. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I had so much fun. I'll play music. We can wave it out that way, you know, but yeah, thank you so much. And I'll definitely be reaching out and just spreading the word. So
yes, keep me in the loop of all your events. You know, I think what you do is very creative. You know, I try to tell people, hey, play a little more.
Yes.
Be yourself, right? Like, and you know, you're a great model for that, Brandy. And I just love that about you, that you know, you use your creative powers for healing and, you know, just keep doing it.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right.
All right, I'll play some music and then we'll wave goodbye. Thank you. Hi, thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much.